Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, like.
Okay. All right, guys. This is Idris Abduction.
What's up?
Yes.
The revolution is on. It's reality.
Yes.
Wake up, everybody.
Yeah.
It's time to wake up. The revolution is for real. Stand up and ask for what is yours. The time is now.
Yeah.
Ojoro no deal.
Wow.
Lucky for the winner, I could argue for the loser. They are in the forest attacking you and you are keeping mute. You should be ashamed of yourself. Stand up. Walk. Let them know that you're ready. It happens in China. The student came out and protested. The revolution, 1989.
Yes. And that's why China is prosperous today.
That's right.
They made the sacrifice.
So don't sit on your...
Happened in Nigeria, Tunisia. Poor man started the one in...
And he brought himself down.
Now, in self-immolation, sacrifice.
What's up, Nigerians?
So
I don't want that. Mama did for us, Papa did for us. I don't want that. When you know even that, when you can't reach 80 years old, wait till you achieve.
A lot of people are
suffering and smiling.
They are dead already. You know, they're just
man.
walking dead in this country. In a country where you have no dignity, you can't put food on the table, you can't send your children to school.
It's so sad.
You can't drive on the road. You are not safe.
No security. You imagine.
You know,
insecurity
we were
everywhere.
saying this morning, say if you want to get minimum wage to be increased, put politicians on minimum wage.
Simple.
Everybody will be receiving 2 million naira per month.
Simple.
That's as simple as ABC.
Please.
You know, so
Nigeria,
August 5, we're shutting down
Come
Nigeria.
out, everybody, come out.
20 cities have already signed up.
Come
Lagos,
out.
Abuja, Owerri, Enugu, Kaduna, Kano at this point, Abeokuta, Akure, Benin City.
Your impact must be felt. Very, very important. Come out.
Thank you, all the coordinators in those places. In fact, today, in one of the cities, the DSS called our person there and said, we heard soon I want to shut down Nigeria. The guy told him, he said, by Monday,
straight up,
Tuesday, we know we'll get DSS
Ojoro no day.
Because the country would have experienced
Nigerians, wake up. Wake up. It's time. The time is now. Wake up, Nigerians.
And you guys know Abdul Karim now. You don't need introduction.
We don't also need fake, waiting they call them freedom fighters. The one we go come out back, come go collect money for somewhere later. Ojoro no day. We know them well. We know they. So this one, reality.
You know yourself.
Man, don't call your neighbor. You know yourself. Don't show your face. If you show yourself that day, I go embarrass you.
Yes. They know themselves.
Peace.
Thank
5th August.
All right.
Sure, brother.
Revolution.
Watch out for the song. Yes. Say no.
Yes.
The revolution song is Say No.
Say no to Ruga Ruga.
Ruga Ruga. Say no.
Do this candlelight session on behalf of a very industrious mother in Nigeria who was killed brutally in South Africa. Nigerians are experiencing this level of brutality globally. They are getting killed every day, almost in every part of the world. And it is important that Nigerians are protected everywhere by governments of countries where Nigerians might be resident, whether they are legal or illegal immigrants. And nobody deserves to be killed or slaughtered or be maltreated or tortured. But we must state very categorically that the respect citizens get abroad are usually as a result of the respect they get at home. Our government is also actively helping negligently to kill Nigerians on a daily basis. Either it is directly by police in the name of SARS or by headsmen, kidnappers, robbers, assassins, or through hunger, starvation, and policies of government. But let me explain to Nigerians that you also cannot put an end to this without doing something about the killer government at home. There's no question about it, except we have a government that respects our fundamental human rights wherever we be, a government that believes that we have dignity, and government that will not even go out on international platforms and claim that Nigerians are lazy and scammers, which make them susceptible to these state actors and non-state actors who brutally kill our people and denigrate them. We would not have the respect we deserve, and we'll keep seeing this type of very despicable, sad and depressing situations.
Second month in jail for calling for peaceful nationwide protests against the government. Sowore called his movement Revolution Now and mobilized activists to take to the streets on August 5th. But just 2 days before the protests were set to begin, he was arrested by the state and accused of attempting to take over the government. He's been in prison for more than a month now as human rights groups continue to call for his immediate release. He's a human rights activist and the publisher of the online news site Sahara Reports, based in New York City, and has lived in the United States for many years. He ran against President Muhammadu Buhari earlier this year in an election he said lacked a level playing field. His party, Africa Action Congress, declared August 5th the start of the Days of Rage, inspired by the recent popular uprising in Sudan that toppled the authoritarian ruler Omar al-Bashir. The protests went ahead despite his arrest days earlier.
Shortly before Sowore was arrested, he tweeted, "All that's needed for a revolution is for the oppressed to choose a date they desire for liberty, not subjected to the approval of the oppressor." Hashtag Revolution Now, hashtag Days of Rage, hashtag August 5th. This is Amoyle Sowore speaking about Revolution Now at a rally in Nigeria in July.
Are you not tired of this government? Are you not tired of hunger? Are you not tired of no unemployment?
A coalition of press freedom organizations and human rights groups recently petitioned the United Nations and the African Union, while a group called the African Renaissance Organization sent a petition to the U.S. State Department asking the U.S. government to apply pressure on President Muhammadu Buhari for Showore's release. For more, we're joined by Amoyle Showore's wife, Opieme Sowore, and one of his attorneys, Nana Jensen Revenlo, the founding director of the Digital Freedom Fund. She's attorneys at Columbia Law School. Obayeme Sowore and Nina Jensen Revenflo, welcome to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us. So you were here when Sowore was arrested in Nigeria, and I'd say I personally know Sowore very well. I traveled with him in Nigeria when we went to cover the U.S. oil company's involvement in the Niger Delta and what they were doing there. He has been deeply involved with human rights and in covering his country of Nigeria, though a green card holder here. So when did you learn what happened, and what are you demanding now?
Sure. It was Friday night here, Saturday, in Nigeria. I got a text from him saying, "I love you." And I'm like, okay, great, love you too. But his cousin started calling me over and over about an hour after that and told me that he'd been detained. And for 3 days, we did not have any contact with him. We didn't know where he was. He was taken by force at his hotel in Lagos and transported to Abuja. And the capital of Nigeria. And of course, he didn't eat their food, didn't drink their water for all those days. He was basically in isolation with no food, no water. But then on the Tuesday after, he was able to get in touch with his lawyer, as well as they allowed people to come in to provide him with food. But since then, he's basically been in isolation for over a month, being held in Abuja with basically no outlets. He's basically locked in a room for the most part.
And the formal charges against him are based on?
There are no formal charges per se. He's being investigated. So the courts gave the Nigerian government or the DSS the ability to hold him for 45 days to investigate possible treason and terrorism. They based it upon a meeting that he had with Nnamdi Kanu, who has an organization around Biafra. He met with him. Yele made it public. In fact, he disagrees with some of Nnamdi's rhetoric, but he met with him. And Yele's whole thing is bringing in everybody's voices so that Nigeria can be a country for pretty much all of its citizens. So that's one of the things that they mentioned against him. They also mentioned he may have taken money from international countries, and he met them in Dubai. He has never been to Dubai before, which was an interesting statement on the Nigerian government's part, and no money basically has been found with him. So those are some of the things that they've mentioned and associated with him, but they basically have no grounds for holding him and haven't found any.
I'm not the only one asking for a revolution. 84% of Nigerians, according to a poll we conducted, want a revolution. They don't want war. But these people want to drive us into war so that we can all be exterminated at once. We don't want war. We want a very clean, quick, and succinct revolutionary process. Surgical. That we put an end to the shenanigans of government. That we put an end to oppression, the corruption of government. I mean, look at it. You have ministers who have active cases with EFCC being asked to bow and go in our National Assembly. You have ministers who have been engaging in high crimes. We have a president that is insensitive to the country. That this country has fallen apart. Nigeria has failed, except Nigerians bond together and bundle these guys out of our national space. We are wasting our time. And don't ask me whether I'm afraid or worried about the legal implications of what I'm saying. I am carrying out a historical duty. Only history can judge me, not a prosecutor or a federal judge. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. You can't kill somebody who's not afraid of death. And if I'm afraid of death, am I better than those people in Zamfara who are getting slaughtered every day? Am I better than those people who get killed by so-called kidnappers who just walk into the middle of the road with an AK-47, kill people and walk quietly back into the bush? Am I better than students who are getting rusticated for speaking out on campuses? Am I better than those kids who died before they could even see Nigeria that they wanted to badly be? Am I better than women
who can afford to eat? Am I better than those workers who are not getting paid? Am I better than people who are suffering all over the country? No.
And the significance of his case here in the United States as well. Well known for founding Sahara reporters, reading his reports all the time in Nigeria.
I met Sowore for the first time when I still worked for the Media Legal Defense Initiative. We were supporting him in his defense of a number of cases that were brought against Sahara reporters here in the US for their critical investigative reporting. And I was alerted to his case shortly after his arrest and detention. And at that time, Sowore has a really good legal team in Nigeria that represents him, led by Mr. Femi Falana. And they're trying
very famous human
rights lawyer, and they're trying their best to challenge his detention. So far, unfortunately, that has been unsuccessful. So, on behalf of a number of press freedom and human rights organizations, we filed the petition that you just mentioned, calling for the UN and AU special rapporteurs to intervene, basically, because we consider his arrest and detention to be arbitrary and a violation of his right to freedom of expression, freedom of association, and we want them to take action.
And what's the general situation in Nigeria for journalists or other critics of the government? What kind of obstacles do they face?
It's generally a very challenging environment where both intimidation and also legal repercussions for critical reporting and generally voicing opposition or challenging the regime is met with consequences. Sowore's arrest doesn't stand alone. There have been numerous arrests, also in the context of the 5 August demonstration that actually did take place, where numerous people were arrested, including a number of reporters that work for Sahara reporters, but various other human rights defenders in the country have been arrested over the past months.
So the Nigerian court justified Sowore's detention through the Terrorism Act. If you could expand on that. In a ruling on August 8th, the Federal High Court in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja, permitted the holding of Sowore without pressing any charges, and that can be extended. Is that right?
This is correct. So the Security Service filed an ex parte request for 90 days of detention under the Terrorism Act to conduct investigations, and an order was issued for 45 days of detention. This has been challenged, and last week, finally, this came to a hearing in court, but unfortunately, the judge that heard the petition from Mr. Falana and his team decided that he basically couldn't rule on the matter and referred the matter back to the original court that issued the order.
Ameri, I'm wondering if you had an opportunity to talk to your husband at all, and what are his spirits like? What has he told you, if you have?
Sure. They've allowed him to call twice, so he got to speak to myself and also the children.
How old are your kids?
9 and 12. He's definitely putting up a brave front, but it's hard. Staying in isolation for that long and having monitored calls with your family limits what he's able to say or how freely he's able to express himself.
And his use of the word revolution for his organization, Revolution Now. Nani, if you could talk about the significance of this, they're saying that this amounts to treason. However, they themselves have used that word, talking about the need for revolution in Nigeria. Nigeria, Africa's most populous country.
Yeah. Sowore used the word revolution as an emotive term, and he's used this in the context of wanting to achieve transformative change throughout his career. When he founded Sahara Reporters, he said that he wanted to revolutionize news reporting by founding an organization that would rely on investigative citizen reporting. Interestingly, after his arrest, there was a large outcry within Nigeria, and many people indeed pointed to the fact that many of the officials that are currently in government have used the word revolution in the past.
And has the Trump administration intervened in any way to help Sowore?
Not that I'm aware.
Well, we'll continue to follow Sowore's case, and people should read Sahara.
James.
To the arrival of Femi Falana SAN, lawyer, solicitor, counsel. Sowore is expected.
We are going to apply for a copy of the order and a raw copy of the order so that we can serve safely on the state security service. To have our client today, in line with the orders of the law. For the benefit of the starting court, what happens today? What happened today was that following the chat of information by the Attorney General last week Friday to the effect that Mr. Sowore should stand trial for insulting the president, for laundering his own money, and for treasonable felony, for planning a protest against the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. The State Security Service, which had sought to amend the detention order of Mr. Sowore for another period of 20 days, was prepared this morning to apply for the withdrawal of the application expert, of course, on our own part, withdraw our own applications for bail when we thought it was being investigated for terrorism, as well as the other applications challenging the order, detaining him. As it is, the lawyer to the State Security Service now applied in view of the fact that an information has been filed and our client before that detained, counter by reminding the court that there is no order of court today warranting further detention of our client, and that nobody can be detained in Nigeria without an order made by a competent court. And on that basis, the court acceded to our application and ordered the immediate release of our client. But in view of the fact that the government has filed an information which is now pending before this honorable court, the court gave a condition, by asking that my client be released to me, and that he should deposit his international passport, and that if and when the state decides to charge him or to arraign him, I will produce him. Of course, that is not a problem. My client is not going to run it.